Hey, welcome back. This is going to be ideas for memory work, review game, and at-home ideas for CC Cycle 2 and Week 16. And just a heads up, if you're hearing weird sounds in the background, our middle daughter just had a birthday and she got surprised with a baby pig. The pig is 4 months, but it's big and it's loud. And so it's kind of right on the other side of where we're sitting right now. So you may hear some weird grunting or sounds in the background. That's what it is. That is Max the pig. He is our first pig to add to the homestead. So if you hear that, that's all it is. Just a heads up. This week we are going into our area formulas for math, and we're going to be starting with a rectangle. So I have created in years past just these cutout shapes that we're going to be learning for area, just so that we have them, and then I just reuse them every year for when we get into this section of area formulas of math. So we sing this to the tune of 99 bottles. The first week we start with a rectangle, and so this week it is the area of a rectangle equals length times width. And we'll repeat that several times as the first part of our song that we'll sing all together to include all of the area formulas for each of the shapes. So we've got the square, the circle, the triangle, and the rectangle. All together, the song sounds like this. The area of a rectangle equals length times width. The area of a square equals the length of its side squared. The area of a triangle equals 1/2 base times height. The area of a circle equals pi 3.14 times the radius squared. And so that's the whole song. This week we'll just focus on the first part, which is the area of a rectangle. So the area of a rectangle equals length times width. For English, we're moving on to a verb. And so a verb is a word that asserts an action, shows a state of being, links two words together, or helps another verb. So you could do like this. You could shake hands for helping. Those are just some hand motions that we'll do as we kind of chant out the definition of a verb. So a verb is a word that asserts an action, shows a state of being, links two words together, or helps another verb. And that is what we'll do for English. For history, we have Tell Me About How World War II Began. And the song for this week's statement is actually kind of a slower, more somber song. So there's a couple different ideas. It is a very lengthy statement. So I thought that it would be a good idea to do one of two things. We'll probably use visual aids to have pictures up on the wall in the class. And as we listen to the song, we'll be looking at the pictures and the visual aids, just demonstrating what this time was about. The second option, because the song is kind of a slower, more somber feel, is to just stand in a circle and kind of rock back and forth to the song as you sing it. Of course, that's after you introduce the song and read it to the students, and everybody can become familiar with what we're talking about in this history statement. Okay, so that's history. For Latin this week, we are still working on our first conjugation endings imperfect tense. And so we refer to the sound, the first sound, BAM, which sounds like bomb. And we have a visual aid of a bomb up on our board. And last week I talked about how we're going to use these foam balls or foam squares, and it worked really great. It was a lot of fun. So when we say the first tune, when we sing the song, I toss these up into the air. And then as we sing the rest of the song, all the students run and try to bring these back to my hands before we're done singing the rest of the song. And that works out really great. It's a lot of fun. Everybody's singing while they're searching and jumping and trying to find each of these little squares. I did mention this last week too. You don't want to get too many squares because then it can get a little bit complicated or crazy. I just have about 8 or 9 of them, and that way it keeps it so that each of the students looks for one and everybody's busy for the time it needs to be, and we're back at the end of the song. You can do that several times through, and it's a lot of fun. And just to reiterate the illustration, we're throwing this up because bombs make things imperfect, not perfect. And so this is just a visual reminder of the imperfect tense. Okay, so that is Latin. For timeline, we are moving on to the age of industry. So we move our hands like this, like we have gears that are moving. So age of industry. And then the song says circa 1760 to 1969. You could motion 1760 if you wanted to 1969, or you could just move that part. I think it's a bit much for the littles, so it kind of moves fast when you're doing all the numbers. So we just transfer over to the next one, which is American Revolution and General George Washington. For revolution, we do two R's and we just take them and we're going around. One revolution. And General George Washington, we are going to put our hands here, just representing the honors or the badges that military wear as honors that they have received on their uniforms. So we'll do General George Washington. And then we have Madison's Constitution. We're going to do the same sign for Constitution and the Bill of Rights. This is the Bill of Rights. And then we have the French Revolution. So we'll do the sign for French. And again, same thing for Revolution. And then the Second Great Awakening. So we'll put our hand up like this and turn it for second. And then Great Awakening, same as we did for last week with First Awakening. And then we have Louisiana Purchase and the Lewis and Clark Expedition. And for that, we're going to go like we are doing a purchase exchange and the Lewis and Clark Expeditions. So like we're searching and finding. And that's all of our timeline motions for this week. For geography, we are learning about the Balkans. And so this is going to be Greece, Albania, Bulgaria, and that area. We sing this to the tune of Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And it starts, we kind of do it a little bit out of order to go with the tune. I will try to find where I found this tune. I did not make up this tune. I'll have to try to find it and put a link in here. But it sounds like this. Row, row, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, Albania, Slovenia. And we kind of do it in that order because as you're looking at the map, that way you can kind of go in the order of what you're singing. So row, row, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, Albania, Slovenia. And it all kinds of goes in a circle this way. And that's how we cover our geography this week for the Balkans. All right, for science, we are learning what is Newton's first law of motion. And we do this as a demonstration. I have these little balls that we use for our little target shooters. And we could use these, you could use marbles, any kind of ball that you can put on a table. And we basically just start out with it at rest and it's just sitting there. Before something touches it, the ball stays in one place, right? Tends to remain at rest unless an outside force influences it. So we show the ball at rest, and then we'll have the kids push the ball towards the end of the table where another student will be there to stop the ball from continuing to move at a constant speed. That is how we demonstrate our Newton's first law of motion. So we will have them do that as we chant through the song. And that is all of our memory work for this week. For review, we're actually probably going to use these balls and our little Norwal target shooter. Basically, you squeeze him and it shoots the ball out. And this is just what we'll use to aim at subjects that we have written up on the board, on our big whiteboard. We'll just have them shoot and aim. And whatever subject we land on, that's the subject that we review. And this week, if you want to do something fun in terms of at home ideas, we'll start with things that you could eat that have to do with this week's memory work. We are studying the Balkans. So that area is kind of near Turkey and the Mediterranean Sea and kind of has influences from there. But Balkan food consists of like dolmas. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those, but basically it is kind of like what we do here for stuffed peppers. Dolma actually means stuffed. So you can make stuffed peppers this week with some rice and some meats and sauces. We like to add a little cheese to ours, but something like that, some stuffed peppers, or different wrapped vegetables like wrapped in cabbage or olive leaves or grape leaves, different things like that. That's called a sarma. The difference in that is just wrapping. But just a couple fun ideas of things that are common in the Balkan area. And then for some other at-home ideas this week, Magic School Bus does have a video called Plays Ball, and that season 1, episode 10 has to do with friction, something that we're learning in science this week. And then they also have the Magic School Bus Rides Again. That's kind of like their second season of videos. They have one called Pigs in the Wind, and that also has to do with friction. It's season 1, episode 2 of Magic School Bus Rides Again. You can find those on Netflix, you can find them on different media outlets. And then in our devotions from Indescribable this week, we could do page 100. That is called Staying Grounded. And that has to do with our science lesson this week. Okay, for art this week, you could read the Who Was series on Claude Monet. That has to do with art this week, and that is one great book that you could read. The Who Was biographies are fantastic. We just finished reading Queen Elizabeth, and they're so insightful, they're very interesting. They keep a lot of great facts to keep kids' attention and jam pack it with things that's like, who knew? Who knew? So I highly recommend the Who Was series for any of the things that we're learning through CC and all of these weeks. They're great books to have in homeschooling. So something fun to add to this week. And then a couple other ones. We have the Science Fair Expedition from Magic School Bus. That's another one that they have. And then the Magic Tree House has 3 books that have to do with what we're learning this week. Danger in the Darkest Hour. And then we have World at War, 1944. This is from a super edition. And then World War II. That's the nonfiction companion. So those are 3 books that you could read from the Magic Tree House. Imagination Station, they have something called Escape to the Hiding Place. That's number 9. Of course, World Echoes for week 16. Be sure to read those stories this week. Lots of fun ideas for at home. This should be a really fun week, and I hope that this has been helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. I will link the visual aids that we are using below in the description of this video, and anything else that I can, oh, and library books that apply to this week as well. So I'll have all that linked below. I hope that you guys have a fantastic week, and I look forward to seeing you again for week 17. Bye.